Okay, so we're going to compare two articles today. This would be in your 10 minutes reading time. So what are you looking for in your 10 minutes reading time? You are looking for your purpose, your author, your arguments. You're looking to read both of texts and to figure out which one is going to be the anchor text, which one is going to be supporting text. So in your first read, you're just going to slowly read through it, work your way through, find out what it's about. You can usually take what it's about from the contention. Pill testing needs to start now, but it's not a silver bullet. You'll have a bit of a look through, find the general gist of it, and then you'll do the same with the second one, and find which one is the anchor text and which one is the supporting text. Now, the anchor text is usually the longer one. For this one, I chose this as a longer one because it just seemed a bit more dense to me. And this one is a little bit shorter. I've been told that in your actual sack, it'll be quite obvious which one is going to be the main text you write on. So that's going to tell you what the first couple of paragraphs are going to be about. So now, the next thing you're going to do, you still don't have a pen in your hands, all right? You're going to decide, well, who is this person, Mary Ellen Harrod? You know, is she, you know, don't just circle that, you know, find out who she is. Well, let's look for a byline. You know, she's the founder of DanceWise, New South Wales. So that must mean that, you know, perhaps she's promoting that. Well, is that true? Well, when we read it, we noticed that DanceWise is, you know, mentioned quite a lot, you know, in here, you know, and there's like an introduction to it. So she's really advertising DanceWise. So now we know who she is. She's, you know, the founder of DanceWise. We know her purpose to promote DanceWise, and we might have an idea of kind of her audience. Perhaps we decide they're older, unfamiliar with festival culture, this kind of thing. The next thing you need to do is figure out your paragraphs. Now, I suggest you notice on mine, it's not really beautiful, is it, right? It's just a few lines here and there of things that kind of make sense to me. You know, so you might, and then what I suggest is arrows and numbers, and then a few words that make sense to you. And these numbers relate to your body paragraph. So, body paragraph 1, harm reduction. Body paragraph 2 is like the definition of harm reduction. Body paragraph 3, body paragraph 4. And then you'd move to your second one. So you've figured out, you know, who Stacey Lee is. In this case, you know, she doesn't have a byline, right? But she does start to just explicitly talk about herself. I'm a millennial, you know, proudly say that I've never taken a pill, so she talks about herself. So we know who she is, right? Maybe we know what her purpose is, to humanize millennial drug takers, I've decided, and maybe it's a similar kind of audience, right? So now that we have that, we need to figure out the body paragraphs, right? Well, we start here, so that's, well, no, we said 4 in the first one, so it would not be number 1, that would be 5, 6, and 7, and possibly 8. Now, that's a lot, so we might want to, you know, make 3 and 2 the same one, or try to figure it out so you have a little bit less. But that'll depend on how many you think you can reasonably analyze in that time. So then you have your writing time. You're going to quickly write all that down to remind you. You know, quick annotation, 5 minutes. Your introduction is going to be another 5 minutes. You know, introducing the issue, which you've taken from here, and then straight into the 2 different articles. Yes. And then the names of the articles, their contentions, their purposes. Then start with body paragraph 1, and you're going to analyze. So here's, I'm going to give an example of an analysis for the first one. So this is definition of harm reduction. So in somewhere in there, I would have talked about it's about accepting people where they're at. Okay, so with this one, let's think about what are you thinking of when you see this word accepting people, right? Recognizing, love, acceptance, community, yeah, and even this picture, right? So because one of the things you have to do during reading time, really, and sorry I didn't mention it, was that you need to decide which argument this picture is going to come under. So if this picture comes under here, then that's fine. So you're going to open your discussions with, Harrod uses phrases like accepting people, recognizing, love, acceptance, and community. She pairs this with a picture of a bright, happy, colourful, pink daytime photo, that centers on joy and individuality. We can see many bodies here, etc., and many people with creative, hairstyles and whatever else. Okay, so it looks bright and happy, doesn't it? Yeah. And then you would talk about, so what is it supposed to make you think? Well, it's supposed to make you think of festival goers who just want to be accepted for who they are, don't want to be rejected. Yeah. How's it supposed to make the audience feel? Well, if we're picturing these people who just want to be accepted for who they are, perhaps it makes us feel guilty that we want to oppress them, whether we want to, we don't want to help them, right? Or maybe it makes us feel proud that we do want to help them, depending on which way our current thoughts are, and then it should make us feel open-minded, right? If we're thinking about them as acceptance, right, perhaps we feel like we're not accepting them, and that might make us feel guilty. But regardless, we're trying to feel open-minded. All right. I have a few minutes left, so that's what you would write. Yeah, you'd write, here's my evidence. Yeah, the picture it's supposed to have of these people who just want to be accepted, and then the feeling we'd have from it, and then what it's supposed to do. Why is this think so important? Because if you just jump straight to feel, sometimes it can seem like there's not a really strong connection. So if you told me that, accepting people, recognizing love, acceptance in the picture, this is designed to make the audience feel guilty. Well, how's that supposed to make you feel guilty, right? It's not until you develop this picture in their heads, you develop this picture of this festival goer that just wants to be accepted. Yeah, then we can draw that connection to guilty. Let's talk very quickly on analyzing the second one and comparing it to the first. You could compare argument, couldn't you? Right? Okay, it doesn't include drug use, does include drug use, whatever else, harm reduction versus education or something. That's pretty boring, right? It's a very low level comparison. A better comparison is the effect, right? So whereas, Harrod attempts to talk about love and acceptance in order to make the audience feel guilty, Lee discusses acceptance in order to have the audience feel perhaps proud or something, right? Confident in intelligent discourse. Yeah. So she attempts to be accepted, right? Because she's very close to the audience, right? Never taken a pill, just like this older, responsible audience. Yeah, never appealed to me. More of a cheese and wine gal, wherever that is, right? Okay, well, this is making me feel like it's close to them. They're both about acceptance, isn't it, right? But now we're supposed to be feeling, okay, well, we understand who this person is. We're very similar to this person. Perhaps we should treat her like an authority, or we should, somehow accept her because she's close to who we are. Okay? So, by the time you get to your second essay, so the second part of your essay where you're comparing, try to compare the tone and the effect on the audience much more than the argument. So that's all I'm going to do today for these two, but we'll do a few more and we'll see how we go.